Welcome to Raaonline. Today class is about the gluteal region. Now we'll see what are the boundaries of the gluteal region. Superiorly it is bounded by the iliac crest, inferiorly by the gluteal fold, laterally by the imaginary line joining the anterior superior iliac spine to the front of the greater trochanter, and medially by the natal cleft between the buttocks. So this is the iliac crest superiorly, and inferiorly you have the gluteal. This is a gluteal fold. This is a gluteal fold. Gluteal fold, and laterally there is it is an imaginary line joining the anterior superior iliac spine to the front of the greater trochanter, and medially is by the natal cleft between the two buttocks. As soon as you remove the skin, and you will see the cutaneous innervation of the gluteal region. This gluteal region is divided into 4 quadrants. In the upper anterior quadrant, the cutaneous innervation is by the lateral cutaneous branch of the subcostal nerve and the lateral cutaneous branch of the iliohypogastric nerve. And the lower anterior quadrant, the cutaneous innervation is by the posterior division of the lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. If you see the posterior quadrant, that is upper and the lower posterior quadrant. The upper posterior quadrant, it is innervated by the dorsal rami of L1, L2 and L3 and the dorsal rami of S1, S2 and S3. And the lower posterior quadrant by the posterior cutaneous nerve and the posterior cutaneous nerve of the thigh. So this is the cutaneous innervation of the gluteal region. And we have the superficial fascia of the gluteal region and the deep fascia. The superficial fascia, it is thick, dense and laden with the large quantities of fat, which gives the characteristic convexity to the buttock, and it forms a thick cushion over the ischial tuberosity. Deep fascia, it is continuous with the deep fascia of the thigh and at the lower border of the gluteus. This is the gluteus maximus muscle. The lower border of the gluteus maximus, the fascia split into two to enclose the muscle, both the tensor fascia lata and the gluteus maximus muscle. Above the gluteus maximus, the deep fascia continues as an one layer covering the gluteus medius muscle. So you can see the fascia here covering the gluteus medius muscle. And what happens? Laterally, the fascia merges with the iliotibial tract. Now we have seen about the superficial fascia, the deep fascia. Now we are going to see the muscles of the gluteal region. The muscles of the gluteal region are arranged in layers. The first layer is the superficial layer. Superficial layer, we have two muscles. One is the gluteus maximus and other is the tensor fascia lata. An intermediate layer, the muscles that comes under the intermediate layer or occupies the intermediate layer are the gluteus medius. This is the gluteus medius. This is the gluteus maximus. The gluteus maximus is cut and exposed to see this muscle. So this is the gluteus medius muscle, and then this is the piriformis muscle, and this is the tricipital tendon of the obturator internus, and this is the superior glomeruli and the inferior glomeruli. And then we have the quadratus femoris and the upper part of the adductor magnus and the origin of the hamstring muscles. Hamstring muscles takes origin from the ischial tuberosity. So now once again I repeat what are the muscles that is present in the intermediate layer are. We have the gluteus medius muscle, the piriformis muscle, the tricipital tendon of obturator internus with the superior and glomeruli inferior. We have the quadratus femoris and the upper part of the adductor magnus and the origin of the hamstring muscles. What are the muscles that present in the deep layer? We have as soon as you remove the gluteus medius, this is the gluteus minimus muscle with the reflected head of the quadratus femoris, tendinous insertion of the obturator. This is obturator externus. So the tendinous incision of the obturator externus and then the gluteus minimus along with the reflected head of the quadratus femoris will form the deep layer of the gluteal region. So we have superficial layer, intermediate layer and the deep layer, and each layer the muscles are present. Now we will see the superficial layer. The first muscle is the gluteus maximus. This is the largest and most superficial muscle in the gluteal region. This muscle, if you see, it slopes downwards and laterally from its origin. This is an origin. So, it goes downwards, slopes downwards and laterally from its origin. If you see, look at the shape, it is more or less quadrangular in shape. What is the origin of this gluteus maximus muscle? It takes origin from the rough area of the ilium behind the posterior gluteal line. As we know, the ilium is divided into, it has 3 layers, that is a anterior gluteal line, intermediate gluteal line and the posterior gluteal line. So, the rough area, the origin of the gluteus maximus is from the rough area of the ilium behind the posterior gluteal line, and second one is takes origin from the outer segment of the dorsal segment of the iliac crest and from the gluteal aponeurosis and from the posterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia, the dorsal surface of the lower sacrum and lateral surface of the coccyx and external surface of the sacrotuberous ligament. These are the origin, these are the site where the gluteus maximus takes its origin. And insertion, now we will see the insertion. The 3/4 of the upper part and the superficial fiber of the lower part gets inserted into the iliotibial tract. So, the fibers are divided into upper part and the lower part, and the lower part is again divided into superficial fibers and the deep fibers. Now, we are dividing that the 3/4 of the upper part and the superficial fibers of the lower part is inserted into the iliotibial. This is the iliotibial tract. Whereas 1/4 of the deep fibers of the lower part is inserted into the gluteal tuberosity. So, this is the, if you see here, you can see this is the gluteal tuberosity and this is the iliotibial tract. So, this is an insertion point of the gluteus maximus in the iliotibial tract. 3/4 of it goes and get attached to the iliotibial tract, whereas 1/4 gets inserted into the gluteal tuberosity. What is the nerve supply? Gluteus maximus is supplied by the inferior gluteal nerve. The root value is L5, S1 and S2. What is the main action of this gluteus maximus? It is a powerful extensor of the hip joint, principally when strength is required, where for example, lifting a heavy weight from the floor, rising from the sitting position, running, climbing staircase. And it also during the normal walking, extension is mainly by the hamstring muscles. Then they are the lateral rotators of the thigh and abduction of the thigh, especially by the upper fibers only, and acts along with the tensor fascia lata to stabilize the pelvis on the thigh, and acts with the tensor fascia lata even to extend the knee through the iliotibial tract.